De Bono's Six Hats Framework, Pharmaceutical Drug Commercial. This is a presentation prepared by Josh Halliday, Willie Marquez, Nick Liebeck, and Kathy Johnson for the purpose of the PPD 500 class summer semester at USC's Sol Price School of Public Policy. Some background on the Six Hats thinking method. It's a technique used for a decision-making process that makes it more efficient, quicker, and allows you to cover a multitude of different types of thinking. There are six hats. The blue hat is the head of the table. He controls the conversation and leads the discussion. The red hat is strictly feelings, reactions, and opinions. It is opposite the white hat, which is only about facts. The black hat is about the risks, cautionary issues, possible failures, where the white hat is a more positive approach, thinking only of the positive outcomes possible. The green hat creates new ideas. The problem we are addressing. A serious problem is perceived by the medical doctors employed in a large mental health organization headquartered in California. The problem is that these doctors frequently are dealing with patients' requests for specific drugs that may or may not be appropriate for their medical conditions. These patients have been bombarded on television with commercials regarding the merits of particular drugs, along with some muted warnings of advertised side effects. The commercials invariably end with the advice, ask your doctor if the drug is right for you. This often shifts from being a question and becomes more of a patient demand and is accompanied with anger if the doctors reject the request. Participate as attendees at a doctor's meeting, which is searching for possible ways to mitigate the problem. As an example of these commercials, here's one for Lipitor.
Talk about a wake-up call. I had a heart attack at 57. My doctor told me I should have been doing more for my high cholesterol. What was I thinking? But now, I trust my heart to Lipitor.
When diet and exercise are not enough, adding Lipitor may help. Unlike some other cholesterol-lowering medications, Lipitor is FDA approved to reduce the risk of heart attack, stroke, and certain kinds of heart surgeries if you have several common risk factors or heart disease. Lipitor has been extensively studied with over 16 years of research. Lipitor is not for everyone, including people with liver problems and women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. You need simple blood tests to check for liver problems. Tell your doctor if you are taking other medications or if you have any muscle pain or weakness. This may be a sign of a rare but serious side effect.
I learned the hard way, but you may be able to do something.
Have a heart-to-heart with your doctor about your risk and about Lipitor.
Drawing attention to this commercial, the positive imagery makes it look like Lipitor makes someone live a happier life. And while it can,
Talk about a wake-up call.
there were also some other options listed here and some risks, but you may not have noticed them because they're small print. Down at the bottom here, we have some common risks, and they include family history, high blood pressure, low good cholesterol, age, and smoking. Yet the attention is on the colors and the large print, not really the small, hard to see print at the bottom. There is also this message at the bottom towards the end of the commercial. It says Lipitor is one of many treatment options to consider. Yet as they are trying to sell Lipitor, they try to hide this message from viewers. Hence the problem doctors face, as consumers think that this is their only option or their best option. The hat sequence we followed was the blue hat, the white hat, the blue hat again, green, blue, yellow, some mixed hats, yellow, black, red, and blue. The reason for the mixed hats was 7 is because we came up with a number of green options, yet because we were trying to spend around an hour doing the hat conversation, we needed to eliminate some of those options. So we switched between hats while we eliminated them and moved it down to 1. The blue hat process we followed. At the beginning, it announced that the blue hat wearer announced much of the attention plays out in the doctor's office. We cannot influence what happens outside of the doctor's office. Understanding the entire healthcare context, there are HMOs, which are first-tier drugs, or which include first-tier drugs that patients must try, and then patients may have to pay out of pocket for drugs if they're not on the list. The problem list HMOs. PPOs, rather, are related to providers and a network. You have to pay a higher cost if you go out of your network. There are risks of patients' dissatisfaction with the physician if he does not prescribe the drugs they request, and some drugs may not be medically necessary, which is why the doctors aren't prescribing them. White hat information. The patient demands drugs that they hear about through advertisements. The risks associated are that the medication may not be necessary or appropriate for the patient's situation. The doctor's quality of care may be at risk if they give in to the patient's demands. The doctor's role is to serve the patient, but this includes more than biological needs, rather neurological also, and some emotional effects. So upsetting the patient could actually be detrimental to their health. And we know that the pharmaceutical industry is not going away, as they are a $300 billion industry worldwide, and they are expected to increase to $400 billion in the next 3 years, according to the World Health Organization. The ideas we came up with under the green hat. Promote legislation to ban pharmaceutical commercials. Support advertisement campaigns against pharmaceutical companies. Require/encourage doctors' associations to advertise. Post medical information for consumers on websites. Require handouts stating drug facts, the pros and the cons in the doctor's offices. And disclose in offices or in health plan contracts that the doctor knows best and that patients should defer to them. We chose to promote legislation to ban pharmaceutical commercials, or at least to limit their content. Yellow hat. The positive outcomes associated with this choice. The legislation could pass. If it does, it will decrease healthcare costs by giving patients more information, leading them to not ask for certain drugs and leaving it to the discretion of the doctor. It will undermine pre-existing patient versus physician tension about the medication. It will increase patient satisfaction because companies and patients will be more truthfully informed and therefore not have their own preconceived notions. Legislation attacks the source of how patients find out about drugs, i.e. with the commercials. Different citizens' perspectives by bringing different stakeholders together, so we find multiple solutions or come to a solution that is community-based because we will have to seek legislation and bring stakeholders together. Some cautionary thoughts. The legislation may not pass. Pharmaceutical companies have far more money to hire lobbyists than the Doctors Association. Legislation may violate freedom of speech or be deemed unconstitutional, therefore failing. There may be conflict of interest between physicians and pharmaceutical companies. Patients and physicians may not be well versed with the science of drugs. Our group's emotions to this. We unanimously thought that legislation was one of the better options. There were no emotional support for the following proposals, which was essentially everything but the legislation. So the solution we came to was to advocate for legislation that would ban all pharmaceutical commercials. These commercials tend to use marketing techniques that lead consumers to believe the drug is a cure for symptoms and/or disease. This may cause conflict between the patient and the provider regarding the appropriate treatment for the consumer. Therefore, we think that this is the best solution to maintain a doctor-patient relationship, which will ultimately benefit the health of the patient.